Hi there, it's the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk about today, really the importance of getting consistent contact on your shot on the golf course. And what we're going to really focus on is trusting what the club will do for you and the lie that you're playing off and how that affects the shot. So we've started with probably, I think, if I talk to the members at this golf course, the one shot they hate the most at this course. We've got around about 115 yards to go over a pond onto a green. Really, really important to understand how getting good contact on this ball is going to allow you first to get over the water, but second, get the result we want at the other end and get the ball to stop near the flag. So you can see, hopefully from the camera angle there, it's quite a bit downhill going down into the green. It's 114 yards because we're going down. It's playing about 110. But how's this lie going to change the shot? And what I see is most people, when they play this shot, their natural instinct is to think, how do I get the elevation? And what they do is through their swing, they try to help the ball up into the air. And the most common results here are they thin it along the ground, which probably runs out into the water, or they hit so far behind the ball, they hit it so badly they don't even reach the water. But the end result, it isn't what they want. So when we look at any shot, and we talk more about sort of hitting a well-struck shot off a normal lie, a flat lie, we talk about the importance of sort of striking down through the ball. And if we do happen to take a divot, we want to take the divot after the ball. So if we're leaning back on this shot, the chances are now my whole body weight's going the wrong way. The likelihood is now I'm going to hit behind the ball, or as I said, you miss the ground, you're on the way up, and you thin it across the other side. So the number one priority here is the lie. I need to make sure on this lie that I get my body angles going with the slope. The slope is leaning down towards the water, so I need to get my sensation of getting my weight far more on my left side. Now, how's that going to change the makeup of the club? Well, from a normal position, if we just stand to the camera there and I now lean forwards, it will naturally take a little bit of loft off the club. Now, this may be mentally where golfers start to go wrong. They get the idea they've got to lean forward, but now what they start to worry about is they haven't got enough loft. Well, we're 110 yards roughly to that flag, and probably only around about 90 to carry the water. So for most golfers, that's probably a pitching wedge or a 9-iron. And even if you now lean forward and turn it into an 8-iron, can you stop the ball in 20 yards? Yes, if you hit the ball correctly, you'll get backspin on it, it will stop. It's got elevation to go over that water correctly, it will land on that green and it will stop. So the importance is, again, we're working on two things. The lie, I need to put more weight on my left side to get good contact. But two, I've got to trust the loft. But here's the good thing. If you're de-lofting the club and you think, let's say for instance, you think this is a 9-iron shot and you de-loft it, you're turning that 9-iron into more like an 8-iron. So if you're concerned that you may hit it too far now, the good thing is if you go to a pitching wedge, it's going to become your 9-iron. So now mentally, you've got the right club in your hand. So that's really important to understand. So we look at the shot, the two things I'm looking for. I understand I must get more weight on my left side to get the strike of the ball. That's my priority. And then number two, I'm trusting the golf club. So I've changed from a 9-iron to my pitching wedge. And if I now trust that, make my normal swing on that line, we should carry the water, no problem at all. Let's see what we can get. So weights on the left side, I'm going to keep it there all the way through the shot, keep the momentum going through, strut the ball nicely. And the difference now is we're on the green, 25 feet from the flag, absolutely fine. So by trusting the golf club and then trusting the lie, I got the result from this one. But we're going to look at a few more shots around the green inside 100 yards that I see golfers get wrong and why then they get the inconsistencies on their shots. Get these right, you can become a single-figure golfer from inside 100 yards, no problem at all. So here's our next shot. And to make it easy to understand, we're just going to do the opposite shot. So at least you're getting the idea of the shot and get this consistency into your mind. So still got the pond to go over, but as we can see here, I'm now standing on a bank, which is an uphill lie. So just reverse all the things that we learned on the downhill lie. I've still got to go with the slope. This is what I see a lot of people do. They'll lean forwards because every chip shot they're told put their weight on the left side and they just bury the club into the ground behind the ball and they either stick it 2 feet in front of them or just end up in the pond, okay, which is no good to us. We don't want that result. So this for me is now realizing, okay, what can I do? I need to tilt my body with the slope. I want to get my angles at an angle that says, yeah, I'm going to go with the slope, and it's increasing the chance now that I'm going to get a better contact on the ball. That's what we're looking for. All the time we're creating setups and ideas to get a better contact. So the shot coming from down the fairway from 100 yards or so, we lost a little bit of loft. If I now tilt my body this way, it's going to increase the loft. If I'm going that way, the loft's going to increase. I might look at this and think, well, it's a nice shot. I've got about 20 yards of water to get over, and I've got another 20 yards to the flag. I could just do that nicely with a pitching wedge. Well, I'm on quite a severe slope here, probably about 8 to 10 degrees. I'm going to take an 8-iron because it's going to become my pitching wedge. So I've used 2 pitching wedge shots ideas in my mind, and what I've done from there, I've tilted my body with it to use the power of the club. Now I'm going to a more powerful club. I'm going to lose power because I'm leaning back. So we're just creating the vision of what to do. So from there, if I lean back, keep my body at that angle, that's the important thing. Don't lean back more because we'll get the same faults we talked about in the previous shot. Just get your angles with the slope, swing with the slope. We get the elevation of a wedge now, even though I'm using an 8-iron, and that ball now has run out to about 15 feet from the hole. So again, the biggest thing we're doing, I'm learning what's the club going to do, what's the lie going to do, and I'm adapting. And this is what you've got to do. You've got to go to the golf course. You've got to try a little bit of these ideas out. It's the only way you're going to get them right, because you're going to actually practice them. Okay, so find some awkward lies and do that. Okay, we're going to make the next one even tougher. We're going to be on the edge of the water, playing severely downhill. Let's see what that looks like. So here's my 3rd shot. We've ended up in a really not a nice place. We're right on the edge of the water. I can just make a stance, but I'm on a really severe downslope. And when we're talking probably a 30, 40 degree angle. But it's really important to understand the lie and the club. What do I want to make sure I do is I want to make sure I'm getting good contact on the ball, and make sure then that I can get down to the bottom of the ball to get the elevation that I want. So the priority is really to get my body going with the slope. The more I get my body going with the slope, the more likely I am to get the contact that I want on the shot. And that's the number 1 priority. That's what I'm looking for on the shot. So if we look at it, again, I'm just going to take a little bit of time to explain what we've got. So we've got the bank, we've got the pond, and actually if I probably look at it and I'm standing here, my knees are about the same height as the top of the pond there. So I don't actually have to hit this ball very high at all to get it onto the green. But let's think about it. I'm actually going to use a lob wedge here. So let's just use a little bit of maths. I've got 60 degrees of lob wedge. I'm on at least a 30 degree slope. So take 30 off your 60. This is now turned into a 30 degree golf club. Okay, so we're looking at that. I've got to think this is going to go half the height that I would expect a lob wedge to go if I was standing on a nice lie here. But that's okay, because I've got still, looking ahead of me, a good 20 yards of green, and it's all uphill. So I can land this on the green, run up there. There's a bit of a bank behind the flag. If I go a little bit past, it might run back down. But the priority, again, it's a little bit like the first shot. I've got to get my angles with the slope. And what I would do is just have a couple of practice swings beside to get the feel of what I'm doing. How's that affecting my shot as I go through? How can I play it? But as long as I get my angles with the slope and I trust it, and again, it will feel now I've got probably 90% of my weight on that left side, and I come into it and let the club do the work and I swing down the slope, it will elevate it up into the air. Because if you had a 30 degree golf club, it would go up in the air. So this is going to go up, and I don't need to get a lot of height, so it's going to work. I've just got to let it. But I've got to keep that weight on the left side. Ball and everything, I'm going to grip right down the club to give me control. But the main thing is stay on that left side, trust the loft of the club, and make sure I swing down and through so I go underneath the ball. Any thought of helping the ball up, I'm going to hit here. Likely is I'm going to miss the ball completely. Or I'm in the pond. So let's keep that weight on that front foot, nice and balanced there. It's come out nicely. Actually hit that really nicely. It's come out a little bit too soft. I'm 25 feet away. I'm going to take that all day long. That was a really good golf shot. The one to get me here was the problem shot. That's the one maybe I need to go and practice and sort out. But the great thing is, it's the challenge of the shot. It's the fun of the shot. Your playing partners won't expect you to put that on the green. So go and practice these awkward shots. Amazing what you can find. Let's find another couple of shots that you might need to do to really help that short game and get that game single figure level. So here's our penultimate line. Probably from that camera angle, you can't even see the ball. That's why I've taken a couple of pictures for you to look at. And it's really sitting down. Now, for me, when you get in really thick rough, the way I look at it is, if that golf ball has got down into that lie, your solid stainless steel iron is going to do the same. And the only way that lie is now impossible to play is if it's actually sitting down inside the soil. If it's sitting on top of the soil, and in this case, only just to sort of explain what it is, if I put my finger near that ball, I can feel there's probably about 5 millimeters of air underneath where it's sitting on the grass. Even though it's sitting right down in it, there's still 5 mil underneath it. So my golf club can get underneath that. So straight away, by looking at the lie, I realize I can get to the bottom of the ball. All right, the grass is 3 or 4 inches long behind the ball, but this is a solid stainless steel club. What's going to get out of the way? The grass? Is it going to go through it? Of course it is. The club isn't going to stop when I hit the grass. It's not that thick. Let the club go down and through the grass. Okay? And what I always do is I'll find a piece of grass close by, not near the ball, but just sort of get a sensation of, yeah, what's it going to feel like going through? And get the sensation from there that I'm getting to soil. Because the ball can't be any lower than the soil. So if I can get the feel of getting down into that position, perfect. Okay? Now, we look at the shot. We've got approximately 20 yards of trouble to go over, then we're onto the fringe, and then we're onto the green. What would be a good result from here? If I got down in 3 shots from here now, I'd take it. That's as a professional golfer, I would take that result. So even if you're an 18 handicap golfer, get this ball anywhere on the green, you've played a good shot. Get it within 20, 25 feet, you've done brilliantly. That's what we're looking for. So this is not a shot that you've got to put out a foot from the hole. And if you don't achieve it, get annoyed. Okay, realize anything on the green here, from this lie, as you saw from the pictures, it's not great, it's going to be good. Okay, so the most important thing is, how do I get that ball out of the lie? I've got to get to the bottom of it. So that means I've got to let the club swing down into that area like we did on the practice swings. And what I do from there, for me, I'm not looking for major power, just go a little bit narrower. That helps to make my swing a little bit more upright. The wider I get, it makes it shallower. I'm going to hit more grass. I don't want to do that. I want to come down into the bottom of the ball. So I go narrower. From there, get a little bit closer. And now what I'm trusting is the 60 degrees of my lob wedge will get it out of that lie. I've just got to hit down to the bottom to get it out of it. Okay, we're on to the green. I couldn't play that shot any better. And if it stays on the top tier, which I think it's going to, I've probably put that within 10 feet of the hole. Okay, that's as good as it's going to get. But the main reason why I got that result is because, 1, I knew I had to get to the bottom of the ball. And 2, by looking at it, I could see I could get underneath it. The 60 degree or sand wedge, any club like that, will get you up and out of that bit of grass. You'll have success. Now, the final shot we're going to look at looks very, very simple, but it's the most common one I see golfers get wrong. And we're going to explain why and how you're going to have more success if you get it right. And then your course management from inside 100 yards is going to be so much better. So here's our final shot, and it looks the most simple of all of the 5 shots that we've gone through. But it's the one I see golfers get wrong so many times. And it's why we feel like, from this position where we've got probably 2-3 paces of slightly inconsistent, quite thick grass, which is what we've got this time of year in November, they would probably putt it. And because they haven't practiced that putt, what they end up finding is they get the distance control wrong. And they still probably take 3 shots to get down from here. But it seems the safer option. But it's not. If you can now start to look at it and learn the slopes, what we can see here, which that camera angle isn't really showing you too much, we'll take a picture from the other side in a minute, is we're on a very slight downhill slope. And people don't see that. So what they do is they think they want to elevate it up into the air, and what they're doing is then they're leaning back, and guess what happens? We hit the ground, we hit the top of it, and we get that inconsistency of strike. So even when you set up, there might only be a 2 or 3 degree angle of slope. It's going to affect your shot. It's going to affect the angle that you're coming into the ball and how you're going to strike the ball. So we made it a bit more severe earlier on in the other shots. Maybe this is the one to learn to start with. And again, look at what we've got to achieve. You can go to another one of my videos, what I call the 2-step rule, And it is basically, I want to land it 2 steps onto the green. And if I land it here, the amount of green I've got to work with, how high do I need to go? Okay, so I could probably, if this was a perfectly flat position, I could take an 8 or a 9 iron. But because my eyes see this very slight downhill slope, my brain now says go a little bit more loft. So I've just gone to my pitching wedge again, and I'm going to go with the slope. And that's the key thing that we've got to do. If I go with the slope, then I'm going to get the contact. So again, I'm looking at the lie, working out what club to use, and then if I get the contact consistent, I can work out what works for me. And it is a little bit of an experiment. You've got to try it out and see what you get. So we're going to look at it from face on so you can see the idea, but I've got to get that angle going with the slope. So looking at it from this angle, okay, it's a little bit downhill from the camera angle there. It doesn't probably show exactly how much that's on a downhill lie, but I still want to favour. I can feel in my feet. I mean, you see a lot of people now use a putting system called aim point. They walk onto the green and they're sort of sensing in their feet which way the slope might go. Do it with your pitching. I can feel my weight wanting to go this way. That suggests the low point is there. If I lean back, I'm going to come back, hit the ground behind. So again, I'm just seeing that shot. I'm getting the weight onto that front foot. And you can see, again, I'm not looking for power. So I'm going very narrow. That gives me control of the club, but I've got the weight there. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm leaning this way. And what you can always do on a very slight downhill lie, just put the ball fractionally back in your stance, just to sense that weight there. What that might encourage, it might make your ball jump a little bit to the right because you're going to hit the ball a little bit earlier in the arc of the swing. But again, play a few shots, learn if that's what it does to your shot. And that's why it's so important that you trial these things out. So I feel there, I'm leaning with the slope. The first thing I do, I'm going to get contact on the ball, onto the green. And we're running down now, and we've got that ball within 5 feet of the hole. So everything about today's lesson and what we've gone through those 5 different lies is number 1, look at the lie. Is it on a slope? Is it sitting down in grass? Number 2, how's that going to affect your club? And this is the biggest difference for me. As the golfer gets better, they start to understand the slopes, so their course management becomes so much better. And the priority always people say on a lot of my videos is say, well, it's easy for you, you're a professional golfer, your contact is consistent. But if you learn from what we've gone through on this video and just expand it to all your other shots when you're on the fairway, you might have a 200-yard shot on a downhill lie. Look at what club you got to hit. You might be thinking, I want to take a 3-wood off that lie, but you're going to turn it into a driver. So it might be better to hit a hybrid, and that turns it more closely to your 3-wood loft, and you have a lot more success. So the importance is understand the slopes. If you do, get your body going with it, understand that lie, then realize how the club could be affected by that and adapt. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. You've got to go and practice these ideas and learn how the ball flight might change. But if you do, it's amazing how you start to get the ball. At worst, I think the big difference when you see a tour player is he always connects with the ball. Always gets that ball the distance that he wants to go. It might be a little bit left or right, but he's always up there. If you're mishitting shots, what do you end up doing? You're not even hitting it halfway to the hole. That's what better players don't do. Their contact is good because they understand the slopes and they understand the club. So as I said at the very start, trust in the lie, trust in the club. If you do those 2 things, you're going to have a lot more success. I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you have, go out and practice those shots. Give yourself some tough shots and learn how to do them. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon.